Hi everyone, welcome to our channel. So this is part 3 video on ReactJS CRUD example. Okay, now we want to implement the create operation. Previously we did read operation, right? Now let's focus on implementing the create operation. Okay, for that I'm going to create one more component. Okay, it is also like a page that will contain a form. So where we can create a new item using that form. So let's go to our pages folder and add a new component like add fruit.js. Okay, this is my new component and we know how to define a component function and its name, right? And it should return JSX for now imaginary tags and let's export the component. Okay, this is my component and if you observe now I have two page level components. Okay, that means I have to load them based on their route. So to load them based on their route, we have to install one more library that is React Router DOM. Okay. So such like React Router DOM npm. Okay. Click on the link. Okay. And copy the command. Okay. Now install the package. And package is successfully installed. To confirm it, go to package.json and look for React Router DOM reference. So here is the React Router DOM reference. Okay, now I am able to configure the route. So now question arises like where I have to configure the route. If you recall in app.js, which is our entry component, entry React component in our application, we are loading the layout and inside of it we are loading the add fruits. So instead of directly adding the all app fruits here, we can add router components and we can use routing to load them dynamically. Okay, so for that we can use router components that loads from the React route. Like I can import route like routes. Okay, and inside of it I can define each individual route. Okay, so route and import routes namespace as well. Okay, so those are importing from the React Router DOM, which is the library we just installed. Okay, to this route tag, which is a child tag, we can provide some properties like path. So this path is nothing but our URL of our application. Okay, now I want to configure the component for home page. Home page means simple slash. Okay. And for this, I want to load one particular component that is nothing but all fruit component. Okay. So how we have to define? We have to define or pass our component as a one of the property value that is property like element. Okay. To this element, we have to pass our component. Okay. Using the expression condition, we can pass. Okay. Like all fruits, I can use self-closing tag. Okay. So now whenever we invoke home page, that is reference to the all fruits component, right? So it will be loaded. So now I can remove it from here, all fruits. Same way, now I have to configure route for my new component, which is a add fruit. Okay. Now add one more route element and specify path. So I am specifying path like add fruit. Okay. This is my URL and element. To that element, I have to pass my component, which is the add fruit component. So namespace is automatically imported, right? So let's self close it. Now let's test whether we are able to load our components based on our route values. Okay, so since add component is empty, right? No content, let me add a h1 tag add fruit compo. Okay. So make sure to run both our Nest, sorry, React.js and our JSON server. So if I go to my application, I'm getting some exception. Yeah, I forgot one more thing. Since we are using routes and route components, right? So wherever it is using, that component should be wrapped around the browser route component. Okay, that also loads from the React route. For that, since this app component is where we are invoking this app component in the index.js. So go to index.js. Okay, so browser router. Okay, inside of it, pass our app component element. Okay, and you can see browser router also loads from the React DOM. Now, if I go to my website, I should able to see the content in my page. Okay, home page is working. If I navigate to add hyphen fruit, see add hyphen fruit. Now I am dynamically rendering my components based on the route value. Okay, so far so good. Okay, now let's focus on implementing a form in our add fruit component. So whenever user enters that component data, we can save it to the API. Okay, so to add a form here, so first what I will do, I will add a heading. So using the legend element, so like create, it is a create form, right? Simple heading. Now here I want to add the form. So to add the form with styles, let's go for the components, and here you can see the forms. Here there is a form tag and form elements, right? So first let me add this root form tag here, and also import the form tag namespace. Okay, and if you see here, email text box that comes from this form group. Okay, copy this form group, single form group, add it inside of the form group, and from here let's remove this form text. Okay, I just want form label and form control inside of the form group. Okay, now since this form control tag is there, right? This will render as a text field. Okay, and this label will be the label, and it is a just a grouping element. Okay, and here form control type is email is there, right? Let's change it to text. Okay, text box field. Okay, so what I will do, I have if we recall our db.json, so if we go to our db.json, from here in the form, what kind of fields we required? Name we required, quantity required, cost required, image URL required. So four text fields we required. ID will be auto generated. Okay, JSON server will auto generate. So let duplicate this form group for three more fields. Okay, and let's control ID will apply to form label and the form control as well. So name it like form name. Okay, and label will be just name or fruit name. Okay, and let me remove the placeholder. I don't want any placeholder. And the second field, I want to enter quantity. Okay, so it will be quantity. And instead of text field, I want to read it as a number. Okay, I will take it as number and remove the placeholder, and next field is cost. Name it like cost label and give the type like number, and remove the placeholder. And finally, image URL. Okay, and it will be a image URL, and it will be text only. Remove the placeholder. Okay, this is my simple form, and let's add a button here. Okay, so here I can copy the button. Okay, since I added the button, right? So what I will do, I will simply import the button namespace as well. Okay, and now button type is submit, right? So instead of submit, what I will do, I will use button itself so that form page won't reload. If you use submit also, we can avoid reloading by type equal to submit, and but in the click event, we have to write the e dot prevent, like normal reload operation we have to manually prevent. But instead of that, I am going to use a type so that form won't reload the page. So this is my form. Okay, let's check it. See, now I got a nice create form. Now the thing is, whenever user entered some data, I have to read the data from these forms. For that, we cannot use normal variables, simple constant variables. We can use the userefs. So that loads from the React. So useref can get the instance of the entire field, HTML field. Okay. So let's create useref variables. So constant root name equal to useref. Okay. And constant and useref root from the React. So I have four text fields, right? I want to create four variables. Okay. Quantity equal to useref constant uh, price or cost. Okay. Constant image URL. Okay. These are my variables. So I want to map them to the text field. Here we know form control will render as our text box. So to this we have to map our variables. So to map our variables to this form control, we have to use attribute like ref. In the expression, we have to pass our variable like here in this case root name. Okay, like that. Let's map each variable to the each field. So ref, this is for quantity, and ref, this is for price, and next finally ref, this is for image URL. Okay, now on clicking this button, submit button, we have to post our form data to the API call rate. That means this button click must be registered to a method here. Okay, so first let's define the method. So constant add fruit handler. So handler extension just represent this is a click event handler. Okay, you can give any name and it should be assigned to the arrow function. Okay, so now in this function we have to define our API call. So we know our API call, post API call, right? So if you go to the JSON server, here you can see how to make the API call for each request. Okay, and we are using Axios, right? So Axios imported dot. So since it is a form post, right, means HTTP post request must be invoked for creating the item. So post method, okay, default methods, okay, and to this method we just pass our URL, okay. Along with this URL, second parameter is there. That is nothing but the payload of our form. So let's first prepare the payload of our form. Okay, where payload. So this payload properties must match with our API response properties. You go to db.json file, there are properties, right? So these property names should be matched for form posting. Okay, so let's create payload. So copy the name. So for name, I should assign the name of the fruit. So we know variables. We have user of variables, right? So fruit name dot current. So this current will give entire control over the rendered text field, text element. Okay. So from that I have to read the value, means dot value. This is the string value. Whatever the value that is entered in the form should be read like this. Okay. Same way, what is the next property? Quantity. And for quantity, we have quantity user of variable. So current dot value. Next, cost. So cost we have price user of variable, right? Dot current dot value. Next, image URL. So copy the property name, image URL. Okay. So I have image URL useref dot current dot value. Okay, here in db.json, if you observe, quantity and cost are numbers, means integer values, but name and image URL is string. But current dot will value will always gives you the string from the text field. Okay, so here while posting form, we should post quantity and cost in numbers only. For that, first let's check whether the text field has value or not. If there is value, we should convert using JavaScript default function number. Just pass this entire value. If the text field is empty and we are submitting, just pass the 0 for our demo purpose. Okay, same way this also. Check for whether the value exists or not. If exist, convert it as number. If not exist, just simply send the 0. Okay, so we are ready with the payload. So the payload must be sent as a second parameter to the axios.post method. Okay, sorry, payload. Okay, then after successful API call, I want to navigate back to the home page from my add fruit component. So then, sorry, what then? Okay, I must navigate back to home page. For navigation, we have to use one more function. Let's remove this unnecessary import. Okay, and one more function like use navigation. Okay, so create a variable like navigate and assign use navigate. That loads from the React router DOM. So this has the capability for navigating from one component to other component programmatically. So now I can use my navigate variable to navigate to my home page. So navigate and specify the route. Home page route is simple slash, right? That's it. Okay, we are done with the add fruit handler logic. Now I have to register this with the button. For registering, we have event like on click. Okay, so this is the click event in the React.js. To this, I have to pass my handler method name, that is add fruit handler. Okay, so assign it. And here one more thing, never open circular braces like a function call. What happens means when our component renders, this expression executes, and inside of it we are calling the function. That means handler fruit handler automatically execute while rendering component. Our logic is this method should be invoked when the button is clicked. Okay, so never open the circular braces. Okay, that's the logic inside of our add fruit component. Okay, now one more thing we have to do, that is, so to come to our create form, we should generally navigate from our home page. Means we should have a button. If we click that button, we have to navigate to our add fruit component. Okay, for that, let me add a new button in the all fruits. Okay, for that, first let me open the, sorry, let me add one more row here. Row, and I want margin top here. So class name. We know React form. If you want to define a class, we should use class name attribute. Okay, so margin top to. Inside of it, let me define the call component of the React Bootstrap. Okay, and this column should be displayed in the center. Means in general, Bootstrap divides one row into 12 parts, right? So my column should take four part of the column, and I have to leave the uh, four parts side by side. For that, I can use MD. So to this, I have to pass a object. So to this expression, I will pass a object like span 4. That means this column should take 4 units of place, and both sides it should leave 4 units of space, so that it will be in the center, because row will be divided into 4 parts. For that, to leave 4 parts on both sides, I have to use the offset. In general, in Bootstrap, you can call MD4 and offset MD4, right? So that is same here. Okay, offset. Okay, now inside of this call, let me add the button. So what I will do here, I already have a button, right? So copy this button. So add it in the column and name it like add a new fruit. Okay, and let's remove this add fruit handler. I will create new one here, and button will be type, and I have to import the button namespace. Okay, okay, and here also on clicking button, I have to navigate, right? For navigation, we know we have to use the use navigate. So let me create a variable like constant navigate that equal to use navigate function. Okay, that is imported from the React router DOM. So now I have to create a method here, and that method should be registered to my add a new button method. So here my logic is single line logic for navigation. So instead of adding a new method here, I can write directly here. For that, I will use arrow function, and navigate variable I have declared, right? I will use navigate, and here I will pass the route. If there is a large logic, we definitely have to create a separate function here. Okay, because it is a single line of code that need to be executed for this click button, I am directly using arrow function. And now go to app.js, copy this add fruit URL, okay, and add it inside of this navigate. And so far so good. I think we are done with our implementation. Let's go to our website. See, add button is added. If I click on it, see, I am on the my create form page. Let me add a new item. Okay, send some random URL. So if I click on this button, the form post the entire form data to the server. So for that, go to developer tool and click on networks and go for fetch/xhr. Now click on the submit button. See, my new item is rendered here in my home page. That means successful post call is successful, and from my add form component to I am navigated back to the home page component, because we have written logic, right? So in the add form component on successful API call, we just specified that our app should navigate back to home page. Okay. So if I go to network calls, if you see the first call, and if you go to the headers, if you see the request, it is a post request. And if you see the status from the server, created, 201 created, that means item is created. If you check the payload tab, this is the data we have sent from our form. And if you see the preview, this is the response coming from the server. And here you can see the ID value, that is 3, which is auto generated. That means item is successfully added at the server. And while returning back to our home page, our normal get API call is invoked. And in that response, you can see our newly added record, and that is rendering here. That means we are successfully done with the create operation. Okay. So next we are going to focus on the update operation. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope this video delivered some useful information to you all. If you like my video, please do support me by subscribing to my channel. Soon we are going to meet with new videos. Until then, signing off.